Awesome. Damien, is it okay if I ask some questions as we get started?
Yes, yeah, we are still waiting for people to join. So if you want to start informally, and then
Yes.
we start formally. So it seems that we are
Perfect.
just a
Okay.
second. This is going to just give me a second to we are
No
live
problem.
now
You
in
you
YouTube.
take your time. I want to know for everyone here. My name is Michelle, and I'm co-hosting today with Damien. I'm so happy to be here. But I want to know why you're here. What do you hope to get from this session today? And I can really modify on the fly. It's one of my superpowers to meet your needs. So please put in the chat. Tell me what the heck are you doing here? What inspired you to join, and what you hope to receive. So maybe it was the title of the present, if it was something really silly, or you do everything Damien, tells you to do, maybe that was it. Put it in the chat, and I can always modify as we go to. I want to make sure you leave here feeling really happy that you spent an hour with me here today. So please put it in the chat, everyone. Put it in the chat as we wait here today. Julie, Alzira, welcome. Roland, welcome. Fatima, welcome. Olga, welcome. Layla, welcome. Please, please, please put on your camera so I can see your beautiful face and see what's resonating and what isn't, so we can modify as we go. The presentation title, Fatima, where are you, Fatima? Are you looking to move from $75 from single sessions to the container of support? So great, I love it. Always eager to learn how to grow. Julie, I love that growth mindset, right? One of our ICF core competencies. Damien, and sales is something I'm working on right now. All right, Olga, let's do it together. The title, awesome. I love it. Different perspective and connecting from the phone. I'm outside and connecting from the phone. Okay. I have been coaching in an academic setting and starting to venture into my own business as well. I'm not sure how to turn the coaching experience into a product. Nikki, awesome. Nikki, today I hope to share with you how you cannot become a consultant unless you want to. So you'll listen for that, is you don't need a 5-step process. You don't need modules in order to sell your coaching for thousands. And if you want to do that, that's fine too. But I hope today that you see that isn't necessary, and people will pay you at a minimum $1,500. Good, Nikki, good. Alzira, okay, thank you so much for turning your camera on when you can. And David is always looking for opportunities to frame an upsell to prospective clients. Okay. The title, The Age of Coaching Aggregators. How can we gain our own clients? All right, fantastic. Damien, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great. We may have more people joining, but let me introduce you because we have only 1 hour and it's going to go really fast. From the participants that we have here, most of them are graduates from my programs. So welcome. I see participants from my coaching program, my supervision programs, my team coaching programs, and we have some guests too. So welcome everyone. I want to share with you that I met Michelle 2 years ago at the ICF Global Conference in Orlando. I went to her presentation on using sale techniques, applying the ICF core competencies. And as a result of that presentation that I thought was amazing, we connected and we have been collaborating. Since then, we met again in Argentina. She came to Cordoba to present her book in Cordoba last year. So, and I hope to see you this year again in person in San Diego.
I'm coming. Yes,
Okay,
I hope
great. So I want
everyone
to
here is coming
remember
too.
everybody this year, the ICF Global Conference is going to be in San Diego in October, and I hope you can make it because it's a great space to meet amazing people like Michelle. And I also, over the years, developed friendships with people that I met at conferences that have been amazing. So many of the participants of my programs ask me, okay, what can I do to build my practice? And even when I get calls, we are starting today a new cohort. We're starting cohort 15. And participants ask, okay, will you train me? Will you teach me about how to sell my services? And I said, well, in a 20 weeks program, we don't have enough time to talk about marketing. And it's like any profession you go, you become a lawyer, you become a psychologist. You don't learn marketing as part of your training. You become an expert in the skills in the profession you're studying. So these are extra activities. So I'm committed to support all of the graduates from the programs And anybody interested, we open this to anybody who wants to participate to support them in building their practices. So this is the goal today, to give you some tools, offer you some suggestions about how you can grow your business. So thanks everybody for being here. This is recording. Also, it's live streaming now in YouTube, Michelle. So this is
Wonderful,
going to
fun.
be, many people are going to benefit from this conversation. But I want everybody to be aware to that too. If you're participating and engaged, this is being live streaming in YouTube. So
Fantastic.
Michelle, we are all ready for you.
Wonderful. Well, Damien, I hope we can all come to your house. Maybe you could invite us over for dinner or drinks
Yeah, well,
when he lives in San Diego.
still it's 3 hours away, but
Oh, it's 3 hours. Okay, forget about it.
but
No, no. I was thinking it was down the
everybody's.
road. That's
I will be happy to have you. We have here some colleagues who are local, like David, and so for the local people, we still need to do that.
Well, I'm so happy to be here. And Damien is somebody who's so special to me. And if anybody is watching this and you are looking for a coach training program or looking to up-level your coaching, I could not recommend Damien enough. I just want to tell a teeny tiny story about Damien. I have horrible stage fright. You might not think it here, but it's crippling. And I was about to go on the stage. I'll get emotional sharing the story. And at ICF Cordoba, and Damien comes behind the stage. I'm about to pass out practically. And he just thanks me so much for traveling across the world to share this work with ICF coaches. And I can't tell you, Damien, that was like one of the nicest things that anyone has ever done to me. And I know that's just every day for Damien. So I'm so excited to be here. And anyone who's in Damien's world, I want to help you 100% sell your coaching even before you graduate. So without further ado, we are going to dive in today. And my request to you is keep your camera on. You might think I can't see you, but I can. I have you on the side of my screen. And please ask questions in real time as we go. So I'll do my best to answer them, but I'll scroll back through. And at the end, I'll make sure to answer all your questions. That also helps me learn as I'm presenting, understanding where your questions are. No question is off limits. So please ask. And if something isn't making sense, speak up because you're not alone. So you should be able to see my screen, everyone. Is that the case? Just go ahead and let me know if you can't see it. Today, we are going to learn how to turn a $75 single session into a $1,500 offer. And whether you've been coaching for years or you're just diving in, this is absolutely going to support you. And for those of you who are just starting your coaching journey, you can actually, and ideally you do this, and we'll talk about how you can modify it before you graduate coach training. So it's actually, in my opinion, very important to do before you graduate. But if you've already graduated, don't worry, we've got you. We all have a lot going on in our lives. Many of you have multiple screens out right now. You have your phone in front of you. I want to invite you to be here now. Just like you ask of your clients on those coaching calls, I invite you to be here not just for yourself and your future income, but for your future clients. The world is crazy right now, and they are counting on you. They're counting on you to show up not just as an amazing coach that you are, but to show up the moment you say hello on a sales conversation. And that starts today. So close those tabs, focus here. It's going to be an amazing 45 minutes. And if it feels right to you, just go ahead and close your eyes, put your feet on the floor as I read you one of my favorite poems. The first step. You have to begin. Go do it badly at first with sweaty palms and shaking limbs and gaps in what you know. You have to start. And perhaps you won't feel ready or like you're fully prepared. Perhaps you'll feel scared, too late, too small, too scared. But it's okay that you did not appear on this earth with all the skills and information. It's okay that there are things you'll have to learn. It's okay you won't be perfect overnight and people might see you try, and that getting where you want will take some time. Please begin because you could enjoy it, because things just might go right, because the world craves your light, and because you want to. Everyone starts somewhere. You'll be in excellent company. You'll be so proud looking back, recalling your first steps. Please begin. I love that. And I hope you'll hold that beginner's mindset as we dive into this today. Now, a few of you told me as we started today what you wanted to receive from this call. But I want to know, where are you exactly? Have you hosted sales calls? Have you never hosted one, but you're excited to? You're doing a few a month, but it's not consistent. Or, you're getting these calls, but you want to know how to increase your prices and increase your close rates. So give me a 1, 2, or 3, depending on where you are. Do it really fast so we can keep going. 1. Okay, we've got some 1s. We've got some 3s. Okay, awesome. Dharmesh, okay, fantastic. Olga, we need some more consistency. Carlos, okay, a few sales a month. We want to get every single aligned client. When we only have a couple calls a month, we need to enroll every single aligned client. Okay, so fantastic. Keep those going for me. Keep them going. And as we dive in, I want to share with you a time when I came to the realization. I mean, I knew this, but it was like a slap in the face when I realized how powerful and life-changing even a sales conversation can be. And this beautiful woman pictured here, her name is Joy, ironically. And I was at a coaching event in Columbus, Ohio, and I had just finished speaking. I walked out of the room, where they have all the food and goodies, and this beautiful woman came rushing towards me. And I don't know about you, but people look so different in person than they do on that tiny Zoom screen. Yes, can you relate? And my heart started beating, and I was like, oh my gosh, who is this? And she said, Michelle, it's me, Joy. See, I had hosted a sales conversation with Joy the year prior. And when Joy saw me, all those feelings came rushing back, and she was so excited to share with me all the things that had happened since our last conversation. And at the end of our short interaction, Joy started to get teary-eyed, and then I started to get teary-eyed, and she said, Michelle, thank you. That sales call changed my life forever. And I thought to myself, this is sales? And yes, this is sales. And this is what I get to share with you, a glimpse into what it's like to sell in such a way that your clients will remember that very first interaction, and they will thank you so much for helping them step up and step into their heart's desire. All right, so how are we going to do that in 45 minutes? First off, we need to know what to offer our clients, right? So how do we turn your coaching, what you're doing now in those single sessions, into a high ticket offer that sells with ease? I'm going to share with you something so simple called an activation fee, and that's going to help your clients to say yes on the very first call. And not last but not least, I'm going to give you some tips, tricks of the trade, so that even before your clients show up on the sales call, they're ready to connect, pen in hand, camera on. All right, does this sound fun? Give me a heck yes in the chat if this sounds like a good use of 45 minutes. A teeny tiny bit about me. I want you to know I didn't just walk off the street and decide to be a sales coach. In fact, it happened by accident. I've been in sales for the past 15, almost 20 years now. I'm a trained journalist. I've lived and worked all over the world, including West Africa, where I met my amazing husband, Ryan. I once raised $1 million for the Cleveland Clinic as a major gift fundraiser, which is also a sales job. But perhaps what's most relevant to you is that I worked in a coach training program for 5 years, not only selling that program, but teaching clients in training how to sell before they graduate. So I sure as heck know what keeps you stuck, from the mindset to the logistics to reaching out and booking those calls and delivering with ease. So I'm so excited to connect with you here today. And like you, I am so much more than my work. I have 3 little boys. We love to ski. Ski season just ended. I travel all over the world. I'm going to Costa Rica next week. I was in Argentina, and there's just so much more to me, of course, just like you. With that said, I want to know, Who are you? And answer really fast in the chat. But I don't want to know what makes you extraordinary. I don't want to know about that $1 million gift you raised from the Cleveland Clinic. None of you can relate to that. But I want to know what makes you ordinary. I drive a minivan, both doors open on both sides. Woohoo! What about you that makes you so dang ordinary? Do you drink your coffee black? Do you go to bed at 8? What is it about you that makes you so ordinary? Put it in the chat for me. Put it quick. Put it quick. Sam, I love that you like major gifts in philanthropy. Yes, maybe that's something you've done before. Elzira loves to dance. Nikki loves to watch reruns. Nikki, I want to know which reruns. What are you watching? Seinfeld reruns? What is it? Days of Our Lives? I need to know. Put it in the chat. Come on, this is important. It's relevant. I love sports. Julie, really important. I love watching soccer games. I live right by a professional soccer field. Olga, I love that. Fantastic. Keep them going. Come on, this is for you, not for me. What is it that makes you so ordinary, so boring? The idea of a fun night is Netflix on the couch with my husband and my cat. Okay, I heard cat, Sam. Awesome. Big Bang Theory, Grey's Anatomy, anything mindless. Okay, so when you go to sell your coaching, so often you write a book or you want a TED Talk or you want to share how you sold your company for millions and you want to elevate yourself to show that PhD, that ACC, PCC in your name so that others think you're extraordinary. But guess why they're going to work with you? They're going to work with you because they're in the same mom's group as you. They're going to work with you because they also lift weights at the same gym you do, because they go to your synagogue. They're going to work with you because they're in your gardening club. What makes you ordinary is what attracts people to you, what you have in common, not the amazing things that you've accomplished. So I want you to think about that as you start to think about where you're selling your coaching, how you're going to promote yourself, because that's one of the most ordinary things. People work with me when I first started selling my coaching because I was a mom who had gone back to work and I lived in their neighborhood, nothing else. I want to know for you, what's the biggest impact coaching has had on your life? If you followed me or met me a little bit, you know that coaching has really impacted my marriage. And it was really hard for me until I found coaching and I started to speak to myself differently. And when I had that aha, I wanted everybody to have it. So think back for you, this is hard, because I want to know what's your why. All right. Simon Sinek says they don't buy what you buy, what you're selling, they buy why you're selling it. And this is actually pretty hard for coaches because they say, well, I love impacting other people's lives. Well, that's your client's why. What about your why? What shifted personally for you? Put it in the chat and think about this. It's really important. So when I go to sell my personal coaching, it's because it was hell of challenge going back to work. It was so hard in my marriage, going to marriage counseling. I wanted everybody to see what coaching could do for a relationship and for how you talk to yourself. And I wanted everyone to have that. So put that in the chat, not just for me, but for you. What's the biggest impact in just a few words what coaching had on your life? We're going to get down to the nitty gritty here, but I want to know, lastly, how important is it for you to sell this? Put it on a scale of 1 to 10, and this is really important. How important and is it for you? Be honest with yourself. Because if you don't really care, your clients will sense it. If you don't really care, you're not going to go outside of your comfort zone and post at your synagogue, at your church. You're not going to market at the local gym. You're not going to speak up in the moms group or the PTA meeting and tell people what you're doing. Awesome. I love these 10s. Be honest. I'm not selling your coaching. You are. Kathy's a 10. Olga's a 10. Roland's a 10. The rest of you, there's about 20 others on this call. Put it in the chat. Tell me, how important is it for you to sell your coaching? Keep going, keep going. This is for you. Come on, wake those fingers up. Let's do it. Let's do it. I told you a time of how the sales conversation changed my life so dramatically. And I'd love to share with you a time when the single session pay-as-you-go model, so common with therapy, actually let me down and left me feeling just absolutely broken. So let me set the stage for you here a little bit. Let's see, it was about 6 years ago now. I keep saying 5, but it was about 6 years ago. And I found myself in my minivan, but this time I was alone in a parking lot and I was sobbing uncontrollably. See, I had just finished a 60-minute session with my brand new therapist. And after I finished the session, I had poured my heart out to her. She said to me, Michelle, I'd love to work with you. Whenever you're ready, why don't you go ahead and schedule your next session? I looked up at that Ivy League degree on her wall, and I just felt like I could hear the glass shattering on the ground. I just felt so forlorn and alone. It had taken so much for me to get to that therapist's office. I have 3 little boys. I work full time. That is so hard for me to do. And here she sent me off my way to schedule another session. So common. What's the big deal? What am I so upset about? Put it in the chat really quick. Put it in the chat. What am I so upset about? I had a simple session with a therapist, and she said, great, I'd love to work with you. And she sent me on my way to schedule when I was ready, and she took my $125. Nikki said she should have scheduled it with you. There's no wrong answers. Give it a guess here. She didn't schedule with you right then. Okay, these are great answers. Good. Keep going. Why else do you think I'm so upset that I poured my heart out for an hour? Therapist gave me a little bit of comfort and sent me on my way. What am I so upset? More labor for you to do, Nikki. Okay, keep going. I know there's more of you on here. Come on. Why do you think it's such a big deal that she sent me on my way to schedule my next session? Okay, she didn't reframe. Layla, you're getting to it. Yep. It felt like she was pushing you. Okay, interesting, Alzira. You didn't feel seen. Olga, I like that. She didn't extend the human touch. Julie, thank you so much. That's fantastic. You did not get what you needed from the therapist at the time you needed it. It was about how she made you feel. Okay, so let's go back in time. And if you're old enough to remember Wayne's World, okay, we'll go back in time. I'm sitting there at the therapist's office and I'm finishing up my hour-long session with her. Here is, had she taken this training, what I imagine her saying to me. Michelle, I am so sorry you're going through this. What your experience is unfortunately really common, but that doesn't make it any less painful. Here is what I suggest. And now when we work together, I cannot guarantee that I can save your marriage. But what I do guarantee is that when you put in the time, you will feel a heck of a lot better knowing that you did everything you could for your kids, for your spouse, but most importantly, for yourself. Michelle, here's how I typically work with clients. Normally, we set aside a 3-month container of support. We meet every other week. And in between the sessions, I give you homework. Well, Michelle, I should actually say this is self-prescribed. And it's going to be things like hanging out with your spouse one-on-one, making some time for you and hanging out with those amazing kiddos of yours. Again, I cannot guarantee your marriage will be saved, but every week you are going to feel this lightness off your chest as we work through this together. Michelle, I charge $1,500 for a 3-month container of support. You can get started right now with an activation of $500, and then your next payment comes out 30 days later. How does that sound? Great. Let's go ahead and take that activation and let's get you scheduled for the next 3 sessions. And let's talk about your homework. This would have been an offer I couldn't refuse. I would have paid twice that amount. And in fact, I actually ended up paying $5,000 for marriage counseling the next year. Literally, it was over $5,000. I went to Boulder. Okay. I want to know, what did you hear in this second offer that made it feel so different for the client and the coach. So for the therapist, let's think she went from $125 a session, true story, to now $1,500 for a 3-month container of support. She was scheduled, she knew her schedule now for the next 3 months, and I had the support I needed. So it was a structured program. Nikki, do you see how it was like it was a light framework? This isn't, I'm a consultant, I'm going to do the 5-step program, I'm going to show you all my modules. It's I'm framing this time together. A clear and structured program with steps included. Our minds, they just want to know what to do next. Put it in the chat. What was so simple about that? We also took money off the table. Put it in the chat. Come on, everybody. I want to hear you. It went from a large amount, $1,500, to a small activation fee. Good framing. David, you're exactly right. So we went $1,500. You can get started with the 500. We want to break it into a number that isn't overwhelming, but helps the client step up. And we'll talk about that more. What I want to really stress here is the power in the delivery. You went from transaction, you coming to the therapist for support, to true coaching, which is the brilliance is in between the sessions. The client does the work, not the therapist. They're not fixing you. No, we're not fixing anyone. We're helping them realize their brilliance. And in between the sessions, they step in with our support. Okay. So what makes a really good client coaching partnership? Okay, you're about to do a face palm because this is just so simple. But what do we have here? We have a very specific start date. Let's go ahead and get started next week. Not when you're ready, let's do it. When it feels good to you, guess what? I'm never going to do it when it feels good to me. It never feels good to me to go to counseling, right? That's never going to feel good. When do you want to feel relief? Let's start next week. So a very specific start date, a specific end date. So this is really important. And I was talking to my personal trainer about this. Same with therapy. When it goes on and on and on, it's pretty hard to get your butt up and get to it. But when you're working on something for a set period of time, even when you come into coaching with Damien, right, it ends. So you have a specific time period, you need to learn it. And then great, you master it and you move on to the next thing. So a very specific end date, and this doesn't mean that you only work with people for 3 months, and we can talk about that if you'd like. And now this is very important. We have the exchange of money, the activation fee on that very first call. When the client says yes, it's not in loving service to invoice them. It's in loving service to take that activation fee, auto pay going forward, so they don't have to remake that decision over and over and over again. What's really nice here is money is a powerful activator. You will see that people will do things, your clients, before you even get to that first coaching call. I tell the story often of a client who hired a nanny. No joke. Do you know how much a nanny is? We're talking 30, 50, sometimes $75,000 for a nanny. She hired a nanny before our first call. She sat her spouse down, talked about all the sessions we were having and how she needed support. Just the fact that she did the thing and signed up for the thing and paid for it was huge. And she knew she was about to step into something. And you will see this with your clients as well. Don't steal this from them. Take that activation fee. Right? Activation in the chat if this feels doable to you, right? Activation, right? Yes. So I understand that this is landing. We want to, if it's even a small amount, I have a client, her name is Lisa, and she's a parenting coach. And she says, you know what? $500 feels a little bit big to me on that very first call. What I'm going to do is 100. And so she started off with a $100 activation fee. And that was how she sent out her welcome gift and she got the client onboarded and it felt really good to her. She's now moved up and she does the 500. But that felt good to her at first. So you want to do what feels really good to you, but any exchange of money helps the client to step in and step up. Okay. So no more single sessions or worse, packages. Okay, my mentor used to always say this, Laura, packages are single sessions at a discount. The minute you say packages, what does somebody do? They're pulling out their calculator and they are figuring out what it is per session. We are helping them for the full 3 months container of support. Our brilliance lies in between the sessions as well. And I can help you understand that. But does everyone understand how this isn't a package? And if you have a package, we can kind of throw everything in there, stir it up, and reframe it to the client. But most importantly, reframe it to you. Because you, in your mind, need to really realize the brilliance of a container of support versus a package. And until you haven't experienced this, it's hard to articulate it to the client, even subconsciously. They're feeling something from you. So what you can do, for those of you who are in coach training still, you can practice in containers of support. And this is so important. Everyone should be doing this. Yes, you're going to do a few single sessions here and there. Maybe you do 3 or 5, but after you do, don't do more than 10 single sessions. Invite people into containers of support and serve them in 3 months containers of support every week or every other week, and go through the motions of scheduling them out, the program agreement and everything. And what your brain is going to do is get evidence of the brilliance of that time period. You'll see your clients do these crazy things. They'll get divorced, they'll get married, they'll start businesses, they will move. I had a client move up to the mountains. I had another client pull her kids out of private school. Crazy things will happen. And then your brain will go, whoa, I can never charge a single session again. People ask me all the time. I'm like, no, I can't do you the disservice of a single session. Okay, awesome. Just in case you haven't, really, I want to really make sure this lands for you. Okay. I don't want anybody going back to single sessions after this. Okay. How many sessions do you have with clients during those 3 months? Layla, 6. So it's 3 months every other week. And this is an idea. Maybe you like to do it every week. Some of you know that your container of support needs to be 6 months. I have clients that come in and they're like, I have to do 6 months. We're working on something huge here. Maybe you want it even shorter if you're in coach training, it's 6 weeks, but the onus is on the time period. And then I like every other week because I really like something in between, and every week comes fast. So oftentimes they haven't implemented, in my experience, what you've talked about. You're just like, oh yeah, look, I haven't done that yet. And so it's really nice to give them that grace and that space. Okay. So great question. So let's break this down. I want to make sure nobody goes back to those single sessions. And sometimes really breaking it down mathematically for you can help. So let's introduce to you Alice. Alice is a new coach. She's selling $75 single sessions. Woohoo! She's like, I'm in business. Somebody's paying me. Yes, $75 an hour doesn't sound too bad. But now Alice realizes if she wants to even supplement her income or start to think about leaving her job, she needs to make at least $50,000 a year. At $75 a session, that's 55 sessions a month that not only does she have to deliver, she has to sell over and over and over and over. It is not sustainable. It is not even possible. But now, when Alice learns what you've learned here today, and she invites clients into a 3-month partnership with one sale, she not only has tripled her price and her impact, but now she's starting to think about, this is a real business. Wow, this is actually half of the average of what the average coach charges in the US. We're talking US prices here. So you're starting out at half of what they charge, right? So we're going to quickly go up to 3,000. Let's say you're like, well, what if Alice just gets, her client back 6 times? She's still only made, assuming, and it's not very likely that they're going to come back for 6 sessions, she's still only made $450. So you see, with this minor shift, not only do you up-level yourself, you up-level your client, you help them realize that, hey, wow, let's get moving on your dreams. Let's step up. Let's do it in between. And wow, is it powerful? Everybody sound good? Does this sound possible to you? Write a yes in the chat if you're like, heck yes. This is so simple. And so many people are learning their signature program, they're doing their modules and all the things. And I don't want to stop you from doing that. But I want you to know, I did this. I sold my coaching before I graduated. I've taken 3 coach training programs. Before I graduated the first one, I sold it for $1,500. And then I sold it again and again and again. And I was like, holy cow. This is so simple. Most people,
Michelle, can I ask you a question?
yeah.
In terms of the how we don't want to think in terms of hours, but when you send a package for 3 months for $1,500, if the client asks you, okay, what between how many hours or what is the maximum of hours that we can work together? How would you answer that question?
Yeah. Well, first off, Damien, the challenge is that you have hours in your head right now. And so you're breaking it down into that. And we want to move away and have them really focusing on the transaction. Nobody.
I agree with you, but what just I want to be clear is the clients are asking you for that.
Yes, no, I understand, but I'm saying the reason why is because we're thinking it in our head. I know it sounds really silly, but they're not going to ask you if you focused on the transaction. However, so this is, I mean, in this scenario that I teach as a framework for you to modify, I teach 60-minute sessions every other week. So that's 6 hours. Okay, so 60-minute sessions every other week. You might do 90 minutes. Another thing you can do is I offer Voxer support in between sessions. And so in between sessions, I offer Voxer support. It's a free app, and I send them things depending on what we're working on. So maybe they happen to be into meditation that week, or maybe they're working on active listening, and I'll grab something, a podcast or a reading, and I'll send it to them. Or maybe they just wanted to have a tough conversation with their spouse. And I'll say, hey, I'm sending you some energetic love, whatever you want to say over, I'm thinking about you this week, and I'm excited for you to have that tough conversation with your boss. Right? Or they can respond to you there. They can also say, hey, I want to be sure to talk about X, Y, and Z. I want to celebrate this. I want to celebrate this. So Damien, I love the question, and we're absolutely have this in the program agreement. So it's crystal clear what they receive, but we need to focus on, and in our brains, shift this mindset from don't even say the word package, don't say hours, right? Like this is a 3-month, you're going to be there. If they have a problem in the middle of the week, you're going to jump on that, Voxer and connect with them in a way that feels good to you, offer some sort of support in between the sessions. So why 1,500? Why 1,500? Guess in the chat, even more. Easy activation fee, right? Easy numbers, 500. I happen to be selling high ticket closing or high ticket coaching the first time I went to sell my coaching. And honestly, I just picked this number for these reasons. I knew it was an easy activation fee. I know that typically for $500, nobody needs to typically talk to a spouse or move money. And I'm saying typically in general, in my experience. It also was a minor stretch for the coach, me, and for the client. So if you're charging somebody $100, they might not show up. They might quit halfway. When you charge them the right amount, they show up differently. So it's really important. And again, this is half of what the average coach in the US charges. Alzira, I can answer that question. So into executive coaching, you could do the same thing, but a lot more. Alzira, I have a client who charges $18,000 for executive coaching. So same thing, what we're going to do is break it down. So Alzira, if you can put in the chat what you want to charge, I can break this down for you. We also want to make it an easy payment plan. So $500 the next of 2 payments comes out 30 days later. When you invoice somebody, you're asking them to start the decision process all over again. And it's not fair. It's not nice. They just took 45 minutes on that call with you. Get it done and help them move on with their life. They don't need to perseverate about this again. They made the decision. It's not kind. So take their money, whatever that is. You can use Stripe to do those auto payments and they can come out 30 days later. So really easy payment plan, whatever you're charging. So let's say you're a coach and coach training, you want to do a beta program. You're going to say, hey, Michelle, 1,500 feels like too much. 600, whatever feels good to you for a 3-month container of support. What would your activation fee be? That would be a $200 activation fee, and your next of 2 payments comes out 30 days later. Does that make sense? Just give me a head nod if that makes sense. You see how I'm breaking that apart for the math? And you want the numbers to be really even. You don't want to do 155 and 25 cents, like get rid of the 25 cents, right? We want to make it as easy as possible. Okay, Alzira, absolutely. So I'll break those down for you for the coach training programs. Absolutely. Okay. All right, I got it. Okay, so don't let me forget. We're going to break those numbers down for you. Anybody else who wants me to break down and talk about the activation fee and what to charge per month and how to think about it, let's do that. But does everyone see and understand that $1,500 example and why I do that? Easy peasy, right? I want to make this easy peasy and actionable for you tomorrow or today if you have a sales call. Now, I promised that I would share with you some of the tricks of the trade, right? So sometimes as a coach, I help you realize the brilliance and the training you already have and how these ICF core competencies go into your sales call. I help you realize how you already know how to set an intention, how you already know how to help somebody dream and scheme beyond the everyday. But other times I'm just going to say, hey, you know what? I've taken 1,000 sales calls. I'm just going to tell you what to do to help people show up. And one thing you can do right now, every single person here, is limit your availability. So I want you to think about this. You've seen me on this. You're watching this online. Anybody who listens to you on a podcast, you have about 3 days until they lose interest and move on. 3 days. And that's not because they didn't love you. That's not because they don't want to work with you. It's because they're human and they're busy. And our monkey minds got onto something else and they moved on to the next thing. And so it's really important that you limit your availability on your calendar. And this is one way I know people haven't had proper sales training, if any at all. Their calendars are wide open. And now I'm talking about your sales call, not your coaching calendar. Your sales calendar should only be 3 to 5 days. So it's Thursday. You really want until about Wednesday or Thursday open next week. And you only want a few times a day available on your calendar. Can you imagine calling a divorce lawyer and she gives you her calendar and it's wide open every single day? You're like, okay, next, I'm going to the next person. You are not in demand. You're not honoring your time. Why are you taking calls at this hour of the night? This is crazy. We are the same. We need to show up as the professionals that we are in order to gain and earn the trust of our clients. I invite you to host sales calls when you like. When I 9 and 11 o'clock, people would enroll. Zig Ziglar says sales is a transfer of energy, and he could not be more correct. How you feel matters even more than what you say on a sales call. Anything that I teach you, how you feel matters. I have a client, I mentioned her, Lisa, and she actually takes calls at 8 at night. She's retired. She's a parenting coach, and this is when both parents have put their kids to bed. So if there's no right or wrong here, but you want to think about the 2 or 3 times a day that you feel really good. And then another trick here is like, I don't want to take calls at 5 at night because I would never coach at 5 at night. And so if somebody's booking that sales call, that's typically the time that they're available. So you can save both of yourself time and just limit that availability to when you do coach and take calls. Last but not least, I want to invite you to schedule on your calendar, make sure your clients know 45-minute sales calls. This came about by accident for me. I used to host 1.5-hour calls, and I was late getting my little kid Silas from preschool. And I remember his little beautiful face standing there in his Montessori smock, which is this silly pink smock he wore. And he's standing in the parking lot, so sad. And I had just gone over on a call and forced the kid to wait. Nothing was more important than my little Silas. Something crazy happened when I limited the time on the sales calls. More people enrolled. It was insane. And I thought, what is happening? And here's the thing. I honored their time and mine. I kept the train on the tracks. I had us moving towards our goal on a sales conversation, which is a yes or a no. Our goal is not to get a yes on a sales conversation. I'm checking the client out as much as they're checking me out, but I'm helping them to make a choice. A yes or no, not a maybe. A maybe is the worst answer you can get on a sales conversation. It's just horrible. You haven't done your job. So I noticed when for me this worked, and then working in a coach training program and having all these clients to teach sales to, I was able to ask them to implement this and see what happened. And I remember I had one client and she would literally set a timer and she'd be like, okay, next, and she'd move on in the call. You don't have to be that stringent, but it really worked for her. And it also helps us to not let the client go into story. And what I mean by that is that we all care so deeply for our clients. And when they start telling us about all the awful things that are going on in their life, it's okay to ask, but we don't want to dive deep or accidentally start to coaching them. Remember, they haven't agreed to be coached yet. They've agreed to make a decision with you about the choice to get coached. So the worst thing you can do on a sales call is to start solving their problems. Our brain doesn't like that. You can help them make a choice, a decision as to their next steps. All right, friends, you are ready now. In fact, you were ready yesterday. I'd like you to put in the chat all the excuses that are on your heart, all the reasons why you haven't reached out to those people you know to join your beta program, why you haven't increased your rate. I want to know why you haven't taken that next steps. Put it in the chat. I had one person say they needed to get an LLC, another person to say they needed their dedicated phone line. I was like, what? You have the internet. You don't need a phone line. Another person here today is, I have to have my website set up. I need to get my certification. Admit it to yourself. Admit it to me. What are you afraid of? What are you doing to hide behind that fear? Come on, put it out there. Yes, fear. Awesome. Put it out there. Come on, everybody. Put it in the chat. What are you doing to avoid those sales calls? I'm scared they won't respond. I'm scared they'll reject me. I was afraid the police were going to come for me. I was like, how can I charge this? And like, there's nothing I'm sending to them in return. This feels illegal. It feels personal. Dharmesh, a fear of rejection. Making the time just for sales. Elzira, we sit down and we do prospecting. That's our very first thing. I'm not making the time for it, but what are you doing instead of making the time for it? Because that's where we really need to get to. You're doing the busy work, and that helps our brain think, oh, I just don't have the time. You're avoiding it, right? Because we're scared. Is anybody building their website? Is anybody waiting for certification? Is anybody waiting to get an LLC or do their taxes? What are you doing? What are you waiting for? What is stopping you? The truth is you are ready now. In fact, you were ready yesterday. So I invite you to do one thing today, to reach out to one person and to work towards your goal, to no longer make those to-dos as an excuse. Set them aside and do what you need to do to prospect first. Now you know how to create a powerful offer, to move away from single sessions forever, and to create that container of support for your clients, whether that's $600 for a 3-month, $1,500 or $15,000. What we did today is we learned how to turn your coaching into a high ticket offer. You learned the power of the activation fee. You learned a few tips to set yourself up for success even before you say hello on a sales conversation. And I'm going to answer your questions now, but first off, I want to know, what are you going to remember about these last 45 minutes? You personally, this is for you. I want to remember, okay, I got to get away from that package. I got to get away from that single session pricing. Is it 45-minute sales calls? Is it the activation fee? What is one thing today? Put it in the chat here, unmute yourself quickly and tell me, what is it that you liked about this that you want to make sure that you remember?
So Michelle, I want to share something with you. I belong to the International Coach Federation, and I am also participating in another association. It's an association of national public speakers called NSA, National Speakers Association. And they have a lot of trainings and activities around marketing and selling, more than ICF, though the International Coach Federation recently started doing many more activities, and there are many resources too. But what's interesting, because I was recently in a presentation, and they said, okay, for you to have a successful business as a speaker, you need to spend 45% of your time marketing your services. And I don't know what everybody's thinking here, but so far, how long have you spent what is the percentage of your time that you are spending in building your business as a coach? So I think that's an important distinction. If you need to spend time, that has to be in your time. Michelle, what would you say? What would you say is a percentage that coaches who are entrepreneurs and working in building their business, even doesn't matter how successful they are, what do you think will be the right amount of time?
Yeah, well, I was about 33%. So every single day, and the hard part is everybody here goes, well, what is that? What am I doing? Just because I'm spending, so what the heck do I even do? And one thing you've mentioned here, Damien, is marketing. And so often we will market versus sell. And everyone in this room, every single coach has 5 people. I've taught hundreds of coaches, maybe thousands now. You have 5 people in your network right now who want to buy your coaching for $1,500 or more, hands down. And this has been years and years and years, so even more. And so when you start to market first without having sold, that doesn't make any sense. So we need to sell first, have those sales conversations, those one-on-one interactions, and get that experience, because then those posts make sense. Then the website makes sense. Then the offer makes sense because it comes from a place of experience versus just guessing what people have. And so, Damien, this is one of my real challenges, is that coach training programs, speaking, they're teaching people how to market first, but they don't even know the sales conversation. In fact, I had a call with somebody who had spent $18,000 on a marketing course that got her 40 calls. She didn't enroll one person. And so it's such a waste of time if you haven't learned the sales conversation, how to create this container of support. You go bop 3 people over the head, okay, and you bring them into your 3-month container of support for whatever amount. And then your brain gets that evidence and you go, oh my gosh, 3 weeks in, they dip down, right? And so, yes, every single day, the very first thing you do should be what you feel is unpleasant. And it's not unpleasant. We can make it amazing. And you should spend 1/3 of your time every day on prospecting. And that doesn't have to feel icky. In fact, it can't feel icky or you won't do it. And so we have to figure out what feels amazing to you so that it bursts out of you. Maybe it's doing a training like this. I love this. Right. And this is 1/3 of my day I'm going to spend with you, 1/3 of my work day where I get to share my brilliance with you. Some of you will never work with me, but you'll tell others about me, and it spreads. Right. And so we do this kind of a thing once a day where you'll reach out to 2 people, or you'll post a blog, or whatever it is that you're doing. And I really want to say, I want to invite you to move away from the internet. Hiding behind and posting on social media and growing your social media is another reason you're hiding behind that imposter syndrome. I invite you to get out to that mom's group, get out to that workout group, get out to that religious group. Everybody is a part of something. It can be knitting. It doesn't need to be coaching related or anything. And you can do a simple, the wheel of life exercise with them. You can add value in some way. Don't even sell if that doesn't feel comfortable to you, but show up in an amazing way. And yes, that should 100% be 1/3 of your time, Damien. This isn't magic,
What I want to share with you is that I used to hate everything related to marketing and selling my services.
Yeah.
And I was really bad about it. And when I started being better and when I started to build skills and feel more confident, I started being more effective and I start enjoying it more. So many times, I don't know how people resonate with this, but sometimes we do not like to do what we don't feel we are good at.
Yep.
So there is a part that we may have our own messages growing up about selling or about business or how do you sell yourself. And many times people associate sales with selling cars, these negative associations about it. When being honest, we are all day selling. We have to influence others to buy our ideas or our whatever we're doing. So it's about relating to this experience differently. So I want to invite everybody also to reflect on how are you relating to this experience of putting yourself, because what we're selling is yourself. And Michelle, many times people who are marketers, who are experts in marketing, who have trained to be professional marketing experts, they still are not good about selling themselves. They challenge, they struggle with that.
Yeah. And when you think about going to sell, so often it can feel like we're selling ourselves, but in fact, you're selling coaching. You're selling that training that Damien gave you, those skills. And it's when you think I'm selling myself, you are taking a bit of a self-centered approach, as if somebody's going to work with you because of how you look, or your PhD, or the amount of money you make. It's about the client and that transformational experience. So do your best. I know that's easier said than done, but try to take yourself out of the equation And the rejection has nothing to do with you. It really doesn't. And you'll hosting a proper aligned sales call, you'll be able to see, oh, therapy was actually right for them. Oh, you know what? They need an executive coach, and I'm really more over here. I'm going to, help them on their way. Every call, you should really have the confidence to understand what's going on. And it's, as I love you, but it's just not about you. And anytime somebody says, no, it's not about me, I know I'm doing great work. You're a great coach. And so try as hard as you can to not make it about you. Nikki, sorry, unmute yourself there.
There it is. Okay. So I have a quick question. I've only ever had these types of sales conversations after a discovery call or coaching session. Are you suggesting like almost like a group sales call where like it felt like you were scheduling for certain times and more people were signing up for them? So I couldn't tell if it was a group or if it was an individual call or it was just to talk sales. Can you kind of walk us through what a sales call might look like?
Sure. So that's kind of a conversation for another day. But so Nikki, are you saying that typically you give away coaching for free, or they're coming to a free experience and then you have a sales conversation?
They're usually people I already know. And so
Okay.
they ask me about coaching. I discuss coaching, or I've worked with them at school and now they've graduated and they want to continue services outside. So
Yeah.
generally it happens in a very casual conversation. It's not like sign up for a sales call with me,
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of.
yeah. So this framework would be perfect because you could say, I love the word typically, because you could say, hey, well, here's how I typically work with clients.
Yeah.
And it goes like this. And it's a 3-month container. And they might say, oh, I want every week. And you go, great, no problem. We can change. And you'll be able to modify that. Or, I just wanted to try a month. But now, and oftentimes, especially new, they'll say, hey, can I try a few sessions? And now it's my hope, Nikki, that you'll have the words to say, why you offer a 3-month container of support, because it's not a quick fix. It's this long-term change. I'm reading Atomic Habits. How long does it take for you to start changing our brain? And we're going to rewire how we think. And so that's my hope, is that this is what I taught today is a part of the sales conversation, or just a part of the conversation when you're speaking to somebody who already knows you and wants to work with you.
Yeah.
Hey, here's how I typically work. What feels good to you? Oh gosh, those payments feel a little heavy. Awesome. Should we move them out 4 months? Does that feel good? And we could break it down a little further for you. So we're always willing to modify and meet the clients where they are. Absolutely. So
Okay.
Nikki, I really, especially, it's very hard to sell. And like, say we're enrolling in a group program like this, that's a completely different skill than the sales conversation. I mean, obviously there's some similarities, but the intimacy that you can have on the sales conversation just can't be beat. And you can really move up high ticket very quickly. And so it's much easier for the individual coach. You also typically don't have to do ads or anything like that, because you can enroll 2 to 3 clients a month and be in business versus when you're doing a group coaching program. It's tough. So I would definitely recommend, one-on-one sales conversations. So if you're doing a workshop, what you can do is say, hey, I'm a coach, at the end of the workshop, offer tremendous value. And then at the end, have a sign up for your email list and say, if you're interested in coaching, I'd love to talk further.
Awesome.
That's it. Yeah. So just a way to book sales calls.
Yeah, and presentations are really a great way to get people to know you. Now, Michelle had a session that she did for us last year about this conversation, so that is recorded. But maybe, Michelle, you can come back. Maybe we make plans in the future to continue this conversation. I think it's important for people to know how to find you. And Michelle has also an amazing book. If you want to also put the link so people can find you and find your book. She has a book about how to apply ICF core competencies to these conversations. I highly recommend it. I think people who have read it always have very positive comments to say about that. So what else, anything else that you want people to know, Michelle, before we finish? We're at the top of the hour.
No, absolutely. And I can answer questions on the $25,000 offer if you want me to. But also I put in the chat a link to download chapter 1 of my book. And that reiterates everything that we talked about today. And as adult learners, as any learners, I'm learning Spanish right now, it's really important that you hear it, you read it, and then you practice it. So this is a really nice way for you to have it in your hands. And I'll also send you information too about my 16 credit CCE course if that interests you. So you can go ahead and sign up there. That's free to sign up for. So yeah, perfect.
Do you have an email or something else for what you're saying now?
Sure. Yep, I put it in
So
the chat.
people can, we have a link there, and then in that link, people find everything. Okay, here is your email.
Yeah, so
Michelle
there's
is
my
a
email.
great
Oh,
resource to
I'm sorry,
support
there's a typo in there.
people to lead their businesses. So
info@michelle.rockwood.com. I also hang out on LinkedIn too. I'm pretty responsive on LinkedIn. That's the only social media platform I'm really hanging out on. But I'll be happy to respond back to you quickly there. But get that free chapter if that feels good to you. And yeah, Damien, you have another cohort starting, did you say today?
yes, today, I think one
Wow.
person here is going to be in the cohort. I don't know if he's still here. Sam, yeah, Sam is here.
Ooh, congratulations, Sam. Awesome.
And Beverly too, starting today. So I sent an invitation today. So this was at the last minute if you can make it. But we also have participants now at USC who are in the training and are with here, like Julie, who wrote, I don't know, you saw her comments about getting ready to use what we covered today in the future. So I think it's great. And we're going to share this recording with everybody. So we're also going to start a series next month with different topics for graduates from the program. So everybody is welcome. I'm going to be sending a survey asking you what topics you may be interested in participating. So all of the graduates from all of the program have a place to continue learning together. So you will receiving that. Michelle, anything else you want to say before we go?
No, thank you so much. Any questions we didn't cover, anything, just reach out to me. I'm happy to answer them for you. And get out there, spread the word, sell your coaching however it feels good to you. The world needs us now more than ever. Let's all agree to that. Like they need us. So let's step up and let's serve the heck out of everyone. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Michelle. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for joining today. And let's be in communication, okay? Take care. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you, Damien.
It was great. Thank you very much. And I will share with you the link with the YouTube that is being recorded.